Local Amendment 1 clarifies and rectifies the 42-year structural deficiency in the foundation of the Pell City school system. When the Pell City school system was formed back in 1982, there were a significant number of county residents lived outside of the city limits that attended the Pell City schools. And as part of the formation, it was determined that it was only proper for them to remain in the Pell City schools and not to be displaced. Unfortunately, there was no quick solution to the representation issue because state law dictates that only members of within the city limits, only residents within the city limits can serve on the city school board, can vote for city school board elections. So unfortunately, those residents outside of the city limits did not have voting representation on the board. And there was no easy fix for this. And I'll let the senator and the board members get a little bit deeper into how this issue fixed it. But basically, this is the solution to fix that, to give families the Pell City school system in the attendance zone, give them voting representation, and it also clarifies some representation issues for families that live in the county school board system as well.
Okay, so as early as 2004, when Dr. Bobby Hadcock was superintendent, there were discussions that were taking place in regard to representation from outside the city limits for the students and the families that attended the Pell City school system. We met with RPC, which is Regional Planning Commission of Greater Birmingham, to look at maybe rejoin the district lines and maintaining a minority district within our school system. So we met with them on several different occasions. There was maps that were presented to the Pell City Board of Education, but we were not able to agree on a final rendition of district layouts that was reflective of our community, our city. So, we looked and we went on and on trying to come up with something that we felt would benefit our students and our citizens of the Pell City school system. So, on the most recent rendering of district maps that was presented to the Pell City Board of Education, just to give an example, like District 5, which is Mr. Wilder's district, and District 4, Mr. Cromp's district, the numbers were so, unbalanced, meaning that, I think Mr. Wilder's district was 3,800 or something like that. The District 2, the minority district, was 750 or 800. And the reason why is because there are a lot of minorities that was concentrated 25 years ago within the Glen City, Harrisburg communities. Now, fast forward to today, that has been dispersed. So it's not a large amount of minorities in that specific area. So, we looked at several different, proposals and examples to try to come up with something that would be reflective of our community, and that's what we wanted to do. And I'm gonna let Mr. Wilder comment. No, he might have something.
Before we move on to that, just real quick, you said as early as 2004 is when you started looking at this. So it tells me just initially off the top of my head that this is a very difficult issue that it's taken 20 years to actually get something before the people. What changed? What changed in that amount of time?
Well, from 2004 up until present time, we've been through our third superintendent. So there has been changes in the St. Clair County school board also, because we met with them on several different occasions, trying to come to the table to come up with it as to what we needed to do that would be in the best interest of St. Clair County school system and the Pell City school system.
It seems like there's more willingness now than
Yes.
previously, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Wilder? you want to add?
Yeah, that's correct. The biggest issue back then was it actually wasn't on our side; it was on their side. They couldn't make a decision on what they really wanted to do. Fast forward to just within the last 18 months, we had a decision to whether or not we were going to be just a city system or and include the people outside our district or not. And we chose as a board by voting unanimously to take in the whole district as a school district, Wilson School District. And my thoughts on that were this is where it was originated, and I was not for letting these people go because they're as much part of the school district as I was. And it's a shame that it even came to that because they were losing focus too. Though the biggest issue here is we're educating kids, students. We have an opportunity to continue that, and this should not really be getting in the way. I think it did in 05, and but I think from the counties, St. Clair County schools districts, it's about funding for me. That's all it was about. And we've been operating for 42 years without proper funding from their state. That they're still receiving money for the children.
Can you explain that a little bit? That is not a commonly known issue. Can you
Well,
explain that?
The tax base outside of the city still goes.
Yeah, so the crop hole, anything sold in there at Dollar General, anything at Riverside,
Anything outside the city limits.
outside the city limits goes to the county board of education. And it does not currently come back to the city school system.
It doesn't actually follow the children. It's
They talk 53% of the students that attend the Pell City school system are outside of our city limits.
Right.
And I don't want this to hinder our children, whether they're starting K through 12 now or future students coming in. I mean, I want to give every student in the Pell City school system the best opportunity they can. That's my goal.
Basically, Cameron's kind of like you did. I grew up in Cook Springs, never had representation, never thought that was right. Well, back when this vote started for the tax district, the school board and Martin went around all the locations, talking about the vote, talking about if you pass this, everybody will have representation. The problem was nobody at the time researched how to get the representation. Everybody thought, well, we can just add 2 board members, they'll be elected in the county and do it that way. Well, unfortunately, under federal law, you cannot do that. So we've got to look at it, how to do it. In order to maintain the minority district, to do an elected school board for Pell City would take 11 board members. And that's under federal law, the way you have to set up the district. So you can't have 11 board members. That would just be a little chaotic. So started looking at things. There were some studies done by the school board and conversations with the city, conversations with our legislative reference staff who write bills. And the only solution could be was to do an appointed school board. Is it what I wanted? Absolutely not. I really wanted it where you had all the tax district votes for the school board members, but there's no way to do that without the board members and talking to everyone. There was no way possible to do that. And I'll say the one thing that really shocked me when I started looking at this and the stuff being provided from the Regional Planning Commission and LSA, which is our lawyers in Montgomery, was the school academic studies from your top school boards down in the top 10 in 6A. Most of your successful schools academically were appointed. I was shocked. And I know Mayor and Judd Austin have been talking to several of the school systems out around us that do appointed. and I've got ideas from them, what they do, and everyone has been successful. That made me feel a little better about this. Because the last thing I want to do is take someone's right to throw it away from them. But yet, we've got to give an opportunity, I think, for the kids that live outside the city limits to have some form of representation. And for me, that's what got me finally on board with this.
The problem with 11 is that the larger, whether it's city council or school boards, the larger you get, the less efficient and more dysfunctional you get. There are 139 school systems in the state of Alabama, and not a single one of them has 11 board members, and there's a reason for that. Of the 139 systems, 77% of them only have 5 board seats. 22% of them have either 6 or 7 board seats, but less than 1.5%. Only one school system has 8 and one school system has 9, and that 9 is Birmingham City Schools. So the larger you get, the more dysfunctional they get, and what we need for our school system is we need the best, most efficient operation possible, because this ultimately is about what's going to produce the best product for our children, and 11 just doesn't do it.
Well, I think what you'll probably see is legal action. That would be my first guess. Now, from the school side, we're going to continue business. I mean, we're here to educate kids. But I would think you would see legal action from outside, someone outside the district.
Senator Bell, you've talked about this before. I've heard you speak on it. Can you give us a little bit more information?
Well, that 53% will still vote for the county superintendent, the county board of education members, and they will never have representation on the school board here at city healthy schools. Just that I grew up in Cook Springs. I now live in Riverside and built a house down Dry Creek out in the county. This is the only chance for me, with having 2 kids in the school system, to ever have someone on the school board that represents outside the city limits. It's the only chance we've got. That's mine. And I'm not even saying that, believe me, they've heard from me before. They do listen to us, they do support us, but to have someone that lives out in the district, outside the school, their city limits, to me means a lot.
And I agree. I think they should have a representation. But still, someone outside, feels like they can't contact me on here, come see me, because I'm here for the 4,200 kids in this system.
And I do think it's important to point out that 2 of the seats are reserved for county residents, which has been publicized. You want to touch on that, Mr. Fomby?
That's correct. And back in 2022, when we campaigned for the tax referendum, $5 million increase, and we went to various town hall meetings in New London, several outside of the Pell City's limits. And one thing that was constantly asked is, what do you guys, when will we get representation on the Pell City School Board? And so that was forefront in our solicitation of the citizens voting in favor of that, is that we're going to do everything that we possibly can to get representation for the residents and the citizens that are outside the Pell City School city limits. And that has been our foundation from 22 and even farther back, is to gain representation for the citizens. And I think we're talking roughly 28,000 that are outside of the Pell City schools, Pell City limits.
Back to your original question about the concern over losing the right to vote, as the senator pointed out, none of us are thinking about the possibility of people feeling like their right to vote has been taken away. As we've explained, the only way to do that was with the 11 seats, and that won't work. And that's why we wound up at the appointed board. But when it came to me to look at that, and I was making that consideration, it still all comes back to what is the best for our children, what is going to turn out the best product in our schools. And so you have to look at what is that vote getting you, not to minimize the importance of that vote. But we all have to admit that politics, whether it be on a national level or whatnot, has become so distasteful. Folks don't want to engage in politics. Since the year 2000, 60% of our school board elections have been unopposed because people do not want to engage in politics. So when I looked at that, when I look at what I was getting for giving up my right to vote, and even though I'm mayor, I'm giving up my right to vote. I don't have appointment authority for the board. This falls to the city council. So I'm right in there with everybody. But when I looked at it, I had to recognize that as fewer and fewer people want to run, that is serving as a bar. We shouldn't be tying the willingness to engage in a political campaign and putting out signs and funding a campaign and engaging in a big popularity contest that sometimes can be distasteful. That should not be a bar to parents that want to serve on the school board, that want to raise their hand, fill out an application, and say, I think I can bring something to the table. So that's what I look at as the trade-off for my vote, is the possibility that we get the best people picked from those willing to apply rather than electing from the few that are willing to run a political campaign. I think it gives us the best service possible.
Look back when this started going, and look back through some of the school board members were when I was in school. I see Miss Albertson out there. You had Dwight Blair was chairman of the board for a good while. You had Miss Elsie Purvis, who was appointed at the time. There were several more, but I look back at those people, and they were our community. They cared so much, and I never thought about that until I guess it's a month or so ago. And I got a call from Melissa Purvis, who I graduated school with, and I talked somewhere to somebody, and she heard that I'd said some stuff, and she said, I just want to remind you, my mother was one of the board members, and I forgot about that. And you look back at some of the board members back when it was an appointed board, it was the who's who of the city at the time that really cared about our school system, and did a lot. They were hard workers in the community. They were always around, and always a part of it. And when I look back at those names, I kept thinking of stories when I was in school and how involved they were and how I knew their families, they knew my family. It made me feel better about some of them that was there, and hope that the process moves forward and we go back to that same process of getting the best of the best.
They're going to have the same level of autonomy. Their jobs are still the same. The only thing that changes is the process by which they're seated. And we have a steering committee that we have named 7 incredibly qualified independent individuals. They'll be responsible for proposing the names, the list of names from which the council will choose. But then from there, the council just does the board just does their job, same as they do now. The only difference is they're able to act freely without fear of politics, without having to be concerned about this voting constituent or that. Their sole task is going to be to turn out the best product possible and make our schools the best they can possibly be. But they're still going to be free to do their job as they see fit.